Hello, Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Ishan Rahat Qureshi. I am the founder and CEO of High Achievers League. So today the topic of our presentation is the secret behind finding funding in the United States. Why is it that some students get a lot of funding from US while others really struggle? So there are specific things that you need to know before you apply for funding in the US. The first thing that you need to keep in mind is that in the United States, the kind of funding that is available in the United States, it's unparalleled to anywhere in the world. So the US education industry is a $40 billion affair, and that's huge. Students from all over the world, they apply in the US universities, they get a lot of funding, and they get a lot of opportunities that are hard to get by in other places in the world. So having said that, how to go about applying for funding in the US? So one thing that you need to remember that you need to find the right schools to apply. Unfortunately, what happens in our country or in Asia is that students tend to apply to specific universities, the more famous universities whose names they have heard about, like Yale, Princeton, Harvard. They are of course great universities, but there are a lot of other universities as well. So there are more than 4,700 accredited institutions of higher learning in the United States. So you should not restrict yourself to only a few schools. So what happens is that when you only apply in a few schools, and if you do not get admission there or if you do not get funding there, then for you it's game over. So what you really need to do is to find schools that are a better fit for you to apply. So finding the right schools is the first thing. Then how to find the right schools? There are tools available that you can use, or you can get help from your school counselors or from your college counselors in finding those universities. You can get help from private counselors maybe, or from US government organization to have access to those tools. So it's very important to shortlist the universities. So your first job is to shortlist those schools where your chances of admission are more and where your chances of finding funding are more. Okay, and then another thing is that when you're applying in a university, always ask for funding, right? They do not know that you do need scholarship. So when you are applying, different universities have different policies for scholarships. For some degrees, yes, they consider you at the time when you apply, so you are considered automatically. But for many other universities, you need to apply for scholarship. So don't you forget to do that. Okay, so there are different sources of funding. For instance, if you're going for bachelor's in US, so you may get funding in the form of scholarship, in the form of TA-ship, or your tuition fee may be waived. If you're applying for master's or PhD, you may get funding in the form of graduate assistantship. You may get an on-campus job, or your tuition may be waived. In PhD, generally what happens is that in the US, if you get admission in PhD, then what happens is that you are generally automatically considered for scholarship as well, and it's much easier in the US to get funding if you get admission in PhD. Okay, so besides that, the funding is available at different levels. In PhD, as I said, if you get admission, it's much easier to get funding. Similarly, at the bachelor's level, since the US universities, they want to pick up the brightest minds from all over the world. So there is a lot of funding available. But again, as I said, you need to find the right schools that have the funding. Those schools that have the track record of providing funding to international students. So it's all about how you shortlist your universities. Generally, what we suggest to students is to have three kinds of categories when they are applying to schools. So the one kind of category is your dream schools, the schools that you really want to go to, right? The second kind of category is the REIT schools, where you have a good chance of getting admission and funding And then the third category is the safety schools. You know, for those schools for which you are a star student. So you should keep this kind of combination when you are applying for schools or for universities. Okay, so with that in mind, I hope this was useful. Please note down our web address. It's www.haleague.com, www.haleague.com, and our email address is info@haleague.com. Thank you so much.